gods walked in.
Rejoice together, for the time we are living in is the time for reclaiming our own. Brothers, listen to me, to me.
Did you know that guys walk here? Did you know guys walk here?
Most of us know our country fought a civil war in the 1860s, but less is known about what came afterward, the chaotic, exhilarating, and ultimately devastating period known as Reconstruction. It was a moment of profound change, with promises of citizenship and equal rights for all. One of the greatest achievements of Reconstruction was granting black men the right to vote. In 1867 alone, over 80% of all the black men in the former Confederate states registered to vote. 3 years later, Hiram Revels was elected the first black man to serve in the United States Senate, and Joseph Rainey became the first black United States congressman. Their election paved the way for more than 2,000 black office holders who served at every level of government during Reconstruction.
There are not many moments in recorded human history where a group that was so subordinated would, within the space of a decade, actually be integrated into the highest echelons of political society.
But the momentum wouldn't last. Black men's access to the ballot box, along with other key rights gained during Reconstruction, were rolled back systematically throughout the South. In 1875, near the end of Reconstruction, the 44th Congress included 7 black House members and a United States Senator. By 1900, only one remained, Congressman George Henry White of North Carolina.
By the time George H. White leaves office in 1901, he literally turns the light off on national black political leadership. No one will come behind him for an entire generation.
One of the cruel ironies of Reconstruction is that black people could claim certain rights in the 1870s that they would have to fight to reclaim in the 1960s. A sobering reminder that achievements thought permanent can be overturned and rights can never be taken for granted.
All right. Okay, I've been hearing the feedback. My name is D. Moss. We're watching. You're in tune to On Deck, Being Black in America. Well, let's see, make sure we got everybody on. Well, we talk about life from a black perspective. We try and keep this raw and as honest as we can possibly keep it. We live in America 2020, not too much different than America 1920 or America 1820. Coming up on November 3rd, we have a national election. We have everybody and their mother telling us that we need to vote because our ancestors fought for that right to vote, talking about how critically important that vote is. Today, we're going to talk about the relevancy of the vote, whether or not we think it's a critical tool to use or if it's something we should just walk away from. We also want to answer the question, is it still cool to vote for the lesser of two evils? Me, I don't see the sense of it. Whether I vote for the devil or vote for Lucifer, I'm getting the same demon. So there's a million ways of looking at this. And today we got some brilliant brothers on today, and we're going to have that conversation. So I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to open it up. We're talking about the relevancy of the vote. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves. Not sure where Ty Allen went, but I'm sure he'll be back, or Hanif. But brothers, just take a minute, introduce yourselves, let people know who you are so we can get this thing started. Here we go. Rob.
Go ahead. Hi, my name is Robert Jones, and I am a member of the Black community, 100%, 24/7, and I am grateful and appreciative on being on this forum.
Thanks, bro. My man, Jamal Crawford.
Yeah, peace. Jamal Crawford. I'm a community activist, Black nationalist, and Pan-Africanist from Boston, representing the 617 from Roxbury to Springfield.
It is. Next up, my man Key Dodds.
Keyshawn Dodds, lifelong resident of Springfield, Massachusetts, executive director of the Boys and Girls Club. All day, every day, black as it can be.
All right. My man Ty Allen, you're on live. Just do a quick introduction, brother, if you don't mind. Ty?
All right. He's muted. Ty, take off your mute.
Yeah, what up? What up? It's Ty Allen, son of a Pan-Africanist, black nationalist, poet. Sometimes when I feel like it, you got enough money, and I like you, I'm a policy and strategist. You got to have both, good ideas and cash. And right now, I'm at the activist summit here in New York, in this cold-ass day. A bunch of progressive candidates and activists are getting together to talk about what we could do in New York and on the Eastern Seaboard. So, live and direct.
All right, Ty, I'm not sure if you heard me
Oh,
earlier.
yeah, and F Boston. I'm sorry, I got to get that in. Get that out real fast.
Why Boston?
Why you mad? I'm a Yankee fan. I got to, I got to keep it 100. I'm a Yankee fan to the death.
Man, you can keep the Yankees and the Red Sox. All right, y'all. So, Ty, since you're up, we got you on deck. We're talking about the
Y'all should know I was going to say that. You put somebody from Boston in the call, I'm going to talk trash about Boston. Y'all should know that already.
Hey, listen, you can do it all day because I don't care about sports. Look, the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Patriots could all be on a plane. That plane could crash, and I don't care. Okay?
I like him already.
Ditto.
Yes.
Ditto.
I'll try the plane. Here we go.
Ty, can you hear me?
Nah, good to see y'all, man, for real. Nice to meet you, brother.
All right.
Hey.
So, Ty, open it up. Talk about the relevancy of the vote. We talk about the vote from any perspective you want to talk about
Somebody
it from.
talking. Ain't nothing happening.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm going to open it up to the rest of y'all. Let's get this conversation started. We want to talk about the vote. There are a lot of folks telling us we need to vote, talking about how important this vote is. Then on the flip side, I'm hearing a lot of cats who are saying, listen, man, the vote has gotten us absolutely nowhere. So for our viewers, man, let's talk about this. How critical is the vote? Is it important? Is it no longer important? Where we at?
All right, so I think if the camera's on me, so I'm gonna start off. I think for generations, it's been known that our vote is critical. Your voting power is critical, but understanding what to vote for, who to vote for, and how to vote is the most critical and most important. There, I know you're saying, you have the devil and Lucifer. The lesser two evils isn't how it is seen, how it is seen now. Definitely, if you are up on politics, you know that both of these people, one who is the president, one who is a former vice president, both have sketchy records from years past, not just 4 years of being in office as a president in Trump, 8 years as a vice president, and 47 years in public eye in an elected seat. They have some sketchy backgrounds that have affected Black people in many ways. We can also dig up all of Trump's undoings into the Black community, and just one that really hits everybody that people should know more about is the Central Park Five. It's one of the ones that really resonates with everyone else, that people try to sweep under the rug, that he really pushed for them to get the death penalty when they were innocent. And so we have two candidates up there right now that can very, very much change the direction of this country, have changed the direction of this country, and not in our favor. Do I think it's important that we get Trump out? Absolutely. But do I think we can do more with Biden in office? I honestly don't think so, unless we really put our voices to where our vote matters. Yes, they're going to campaign for our vote because they need our vote to hold those offices. The problem that we have as Black people, and also as people of color, is that we do not hold these elected officials accountable. And it goes from national to local. And we can also talk about the old guard and how they act from local to state to national, is that they think that we work for them. That's the problem that has had throughout this country. It's almost like that cartoon picture that I've seen is a politician that's standing on a plank on the ledge, and 1,000 people are standing on that plank, and he's dictating on what we need to do, and we won't move. All we have to do is step off that damn plank, and that guy falls right off the cliff. But because of how we operate in this country, we allow our elected officials to control us and dictate to us instead of us having that power. But for me, yes, that vote does matter, but you have to educate that vote and take your power back and make sure that we know who we have in office and how they're running.
All right. You guys want to chime in?
Well, I would just say that, voting is one of those things where, as a Black nationalist and a Pan-Africanist, much of my youth and in my 20s, I was like, screw the vote. I did not vote, did not believe in the vote, encouraged others not to vote, and so on and so forth. But then I came to a new realization, which is that, when people tell you something doesn't matter, right? Man, I don't care nothing about that dollar. I don't care nothing about that penny, right? Well, then that means if you drop $1, that means I could pick it up, right? No big deal to you. You don't care. It means nothing, right? So what I really realized is still in the view that I recognize my vote was not some sort of magic ticket, right? It wasn't like, oh, we vote on Tuesday and then we're going to be free on Wednesday. Doesn't work like that, right? But what I realized is that all the time I was saying I don't care about it, well, then I might as well use it then. And use it as a scientist, as an experiment to see what begins to happen. So the one thing that I can say about voting is it is less important, I believe, in the election of personalities, but the vote does count, I believe, in terms of legislation and policy. So oftentimes there's a lot of stuff going on at the state house or at the federal level that we need to be involved in. And actually, my brother out there who's at the activist joint in New York, something that we got to happen up here in Massachusetts is called police decertification. It's happening now. And police decertification, the concept that if an officer does something crazy, you could get your license taken, just like a lawyer could get disbarred or a doctor could get his medical license pulled. Massachusetts at the time was one of only 6 states that did not have it in the country. New York is another one of those states. So we need to see what's up with the activists in New York. I've already talked to some people in the state house out of the now, but if there's folks in New York, those are the things where our vote and our political muscle, I believe, can have a little bit more oomph, attacking specific issues and legislation.
So I guess my stance on this is one, you don't go, I use a sports analogy. You don't play a sport and then all of a sudden not use one of the talents. It's just dumb. Having the vote is another one of the skills and talents you can use to affect change. It's too often these arguments about it don't do shit, it's not worth it, are those who probably not doing anything in the first place or don't understand that it's a 360 approach, not to use that old outdated term, but it's a 360 approach to affect change. Everyone can't march, everyone can't spend money, but everyone can do something. And if you're doing something, it's pulling a lever. But now the pulling a lever now becomes options. Oftentimes the options that we have suck ass, like we have right now with the presidential candidates. But in local election, we gotta start doing better at, one, teaching our young folks about civics. I'm an avid believer in teaching the skills and basics around a discipline and allowing someone to figure out what they can do better with it. Using sports again, Shaq and Curry are great. They both play basketball. They can dribble, they can shoot, they can rebound, they can steal the ball, they can pass the ball. However, each of them does something special within those rules and regulations. When you teach someone the actual discipline, you allow them to figure out what makes them great and how they can contribute to the larger conversation. And now we have too many people who are career politicians trained by corrupt politicians who then become corrupt politicians. That's across the board. Black, white, Asian, Indian, purple, green, Martian, Jupiter, whatever you want to talk about. So now here in New York, and even this thing we're doing here, we're trying to not just, we want to affect the philosophy, obviously. We also want to teach people how and what the government feels and looks like. So the vote does more than just be for some cronyisms, for people who really want to do the work. I'm now really trying to find. I mean, I know personally, Don and I talked about this. Part of my job right now is really to find the candidates that our vote really has weight on. As Jamal was saying, we have to find the folks who can carry the message, because too often now we're protesting and we're begging for attention and begging for results. We need to vote for folks who are not begging to get shit done. They come from our communities, they understand the machinations of government, and they are willing to do the work. So we're not begging anymore. We're asking, we're demanding, we're suggesting.
Oh,
And we're gone.
he must have hit a dead zone.
You back?
Sorry about that. Someone's trying to call. Yeah, sorry, somebody's trying to call. But really, I think what we all saying all combined, the vote means something basically. And those who don't think it means something, I kind of stop talking to them because I know they're part of the problem.
But when you got people, Ty, who have experienced so much disappointment, we're talking about generational disappointment. They've heard it from their parents, they've heard it from their grandparents. No. Before you can't just devalue that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay,
yes, you can.
Tell me, I'm listening.
Yo, you go to a job that treats you like shit. Does that mean you stop making money to feed your family? No. You figure out how to you figure out how to make that situation better or to find better situations. The vote has always been taken from us because people in power know it's the one trigger that they left that works against them.
Okay.
Everything else they have made for their benefit. It's the one thing they had to give us. They knew that when used properly can fuck them over. So if that's true, as much disappointment as you have gone through, and we've gone through what, 4 centuries of disappointment, it is still a methodology. That and money are the two things that can make us work. But money, through the vote, can be taken from you. Literally. They can vote you out of your own fucking money. I can give you 3 or 4 ways right now. But the vote itself can create more money, can create more resources. When we talk about resources being in a community, the resources are outlaid by the vote. When we talk about how the government spends more money on the militarization of police, that is because someone voted people into power who then voted to militarize the police. So we can't act as if these things are by accident. They happen in a very concise and clear way. The vote and money equal power. Influence comes from the vote and money equals power. So we're going to ignore the fact that a major element, because you're fucking disappointed, you're not going to vote? Fuck you. I gotta hear that bullshit. I have no time for people who don't give a fuck about anything besides themselves. Fuck you and your bad feelings. Your bad feelings are not going to change the problem.
All right, Dolomite.
I'm dead ass serious though.
But Ty,
I'm joking.
If you write those people off, you don't take the time to explain. That's it. If you're in the business of picking up dollars off the ground, how do you get those people to participate? You can't just say F them. I think we have responsibility. Yo, hold up. I think we have a responsibility to find a way to meet people where they're at. Would you agree or disagree?
I disagree.
Okay, I'm listening.
I think at some point we have to recognize people who they are before they got there. This is not new information. If you're 18 to 25, yes. If you're 25 and above, no. You've seen this already. At some point, I'm sorry, go ahead, Cameron. Somebody was talking.
That was feedback.
Oh, at some point, you have to make a conscious decision on what you care about more: yourself, your family, and or your community. You can't have all 3. You gotta pick 2.
So Ty, this is what D is saying though, but I disagree with you on that one, because what D is saying is that you got a lot of people that are pissed off, and it's like, you know what, really fuck that. I don't want to be a part of this nonsense anymore. But these are what these career politicians want. They want you to not vote because they can hold their positions, because the people that are voting and in power. So the problem that we have to face is what D is right about. We got to meet them somewhere, and you're right about the other part. You guys are going both on 2 parts that I do agree with. You got to teach the civics. You got to get back to the ground level, getting people understand the power of their vote, and we can get them and put people in power that we can work with, people that want to do the work. To say F them and dump them to the side, that means that the other people that have the power to vote are always going to keep those career politicians in power to make the changes that you're saying. So you have a double-edged sword right now. What you're saying right now is fuck everybody, but we got to vote. But you can't do that when you got the fuck everybody's don't want to be with it. So you got to get them on board and start your own coalition. You don't have to be a Democrat or a Republican. You got to pull them in, make sure you know, like you said.
Wait, hold on.
Can I jump in for a second?
We got to get them ready to vote. You can't. You
Can
just
I jump in for a second?
that's leaving the slave on the plantation, and we got to get him off. That's what that is. If you say you have the power in your hand to vote, that means we got to free those people's minds and get them to understand the power of that vote, so we can get the power in set, so we can get our money and get our economics back. That's what it is.
You're conflating the argument.
Ty, hold your thought.
And
Go ahead,
this is why I
Rob.
went to law school. You can't conflate the argument. One, I'm not saying
So-
everybody. I never use the word everybody or all. But I said
He
when
just
those
put
people
Donald Trump
who
on me.
refuse to understand the vote is important, they gotta fucking go. I'm being very clear and succinct in my language. If you don't understand and or refuse to try to understand and or don't want to understand, fuck you. Those who, because at some point you can't keep teaching. Say again.
I said I get that. I understand that.
Right. So
the way you put it that way.
I'm not saying that we don't do something. I'm saying that we have to make a decision at some point. I don't have all day to teach somebody some shit. Just the other day in this actual summit, they had a fucking argument about abolition versus reimagining. I'm sitting there going, listen, motherfuckers, I don't give a fuck about either one. What I want you to actually talk about is present the ideas to the people and let them decide. Oh, you're right. Yes. Stop trying. At some point, we have to start thinking bigger than ourselves. If you don't think bigger than yourself,
Ty,
then you're gonna not use the vote.
Ty, you done with the filibuster? All right. So there were pieces. There were pieces of your argument and Daryl's argument I agreed with in terms of, meet them where they are. But like you indicated, there's a certain point where when you provide somebody the information, you provide it one time, and if they don't want to adapt or adopt that information, you don't spend a lot of time with those people. Listen, if our vote didn't count, these guys wouldn't be moving heaven and earth to suppress our vote and mitigate the impact of our vote as much as they do. Personally, I think voting at the local level, especially seeing what's been going on in Springfield as a microcosm, for example, voting at the local level is that much more impactful than on the federal level, I think. Because back to Jamal's comment about, getting the legislators, getting the people who write the bills and write the laws in at the local level, that's going to have more impact. And you're going to see that more immediately than worrying about who's the president, because it all boils down to the House and the Senate at that point. But getting people engaged locally for the right reasons to enact real and impactful change, that's where I personally think that the Black community should be focused on. The mayors, the city councils, school committees, and all the ancillary city politics and city government that department touches.
Let me interject this real quick.
Go ahead, Jamal.
So, at different times, different people in different groups, large swaths and segments of our people have opted out of voting. All right. So if you remember back in the day, the entirety of the Nation of Islam did not vote. Right. I forget what year it was that Farrakhan issued the edict, which, allowed folks to in the nation. He actually encouraged them to vote. It might have been around the Jesse Jackson time. I can't remember. But in any event, here's a good example. In my old neighborhood, I lived on a hot block, right? Y'all know about hot blocks out there in Springfield, right? Yeah. Now, hot block every day, kids is on the corner since I was a kid. You know what I mean? They out there, they're active. Every once and again, it's gunshots and whatnot, whether it's the kids in the neighborhood or somebody from another neighborhood coming to shoot at them or whatever. Right at the corner of my street was a huge a Jehovah Witness church, a Kingdom Hall, okay? And they had a big old parking lot. And me with my community activist self, this is, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I went to go talk to the guy who ran it, the elder, I think they call it or whatever. And I'm like, hey, yo, listen, we want to mess with the parking lot, so we can do something for the kids, get some grills out here, some burgers or what have you, and do something good for the neighborhood. They said no. Okay. Now, here's people who own property in the community. Once again, one of the largest properties, big old parking lot. They don't even want to use it for the kids because they have opted out of society. We don't vote. We don't want to mess around with none of this. Da 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 da. I mean, and God knows they were the worst neighbor on the street, barely shoveled their snow, and you know what I mean, so on and so forth. But they were so insular. Everything inside of their fence was taken care of, and everything outside of the fence, screw you, baby. Right? And so to me, if we think about it, how many segments, whether it's due to religion, whether it's due to philosophy or whatnot, who do not vote? Look, how many Black Jehovah's Witnesses are there? A bunch. They don't vote. So that's the whole voting block right there that's just waiting, right? And I don't care what they weigh in on. Look, they probably against abortion. They probably, what, you know what I mean? All sorts of things that maybe are against some things that we may believe. But I think that it's important. And the last example I'll leave you with is this. One of the ballot issues, I hope all y'all already voted, you know what I mean? But one of the ballot issues is, the whole ranked choice voting thing, right? Y'all peep that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. For our listeners that don't know, Jamal, can you briefly explain that?
Please.
Yes. So basically, ranked choice voting, if you go into the booth, let's say, you would have said, okay, Hillary Clinton is my number one. Okay. But Hillary Clinton dies in a plane crash, falls in the shower. She's there. She's out the mix. Right. Now your vote is just trash. Right. As opposed to you would say, well, Hillary Clinton's my number one, but I like Bernie Sanders number two, and I like Buttigieg number three, or whatever it is. Then if anything happens via scandal or those people are no longer politically viable,
who gets the next vote?
Then your next vote goes up. Okay. And all we got to do is think about it like a top 10 rap list or something. You know what I mean? Look, I like Jay-Z, I like Nas, I like Black Thought, I like, you know what I mean? And so you can put your favorites together, argue amongst yourselves about what order they go into. But ranked choice voting, to me, is one of the most important things that have happened on the ballot in a long time, because now it not only it is a voting tool and a mechanism that now expands the tool of voting. Okay, so you used to have this gun. Now you're going to have a bigger gun with higher caliber and better range and stopping power. That ranked choice voting is critical. And so all sorts of people some people are like, oh, obviously everybody don't like Trump, but then some people are like, oh, well, Biden, he's no different. So I know a lot of people talk like Brother Josephus has said, what do you say to the On Code brothers? As my brother Ty has said, we can't really do all that level explaining. At the end of the day, people going to do what they're going to do. But the hope is that more people take advantage of the very little mechanisms that we have to defend ourselves. So I don't care if you didn't vote for the president, fine. But I hope that you at least voted on ranked choice voting.
Let me hop in here for a second. Let me hop in for a second.
Go ahead, Neef.
I think one of the things that, with all the stuff that I'm hearing, one of the things I think is important is that the conversation about voting for, a good segment of our population only tends to come up around the presidential election. That's not for everybody, but for a good portion of our population, this is when this conversation happens. And it doesn't happen when you're looking at who's on your local board of ed. It doesn't happen when you're looking at who's going to run your city, who are your councils, who are your state reps. These people, as I've heard it said already by other people on this panel today, these elections that really affect you a lot. So my thing is that I think the more we talk about voting and the more we talk about the importance of our vote, I think it's not a conversation we should be having every 4 years. It's a conversation we should be having on a daily basis. Ty talked about educating people on civics. These are the things that need to be everyday, daily conversations, not just election day once every 4 years for a president or once every 2 to 6 years, depending on which house of Congress that you're looking at on the federal level. I live in Connecticut, and where I live, on the ballot, we've got this year, we've got the president, we've got one of the houses of Congress, then we've got both houses of Congress on the state level, and we got some local things too. But a lot of people don't pay attention to some of these local things that really kind of, make the difference in your day to day. And the more we have this conversation, especially around this time, because of what's going on in this country, the more it makes me feel like we should be having this as a part of our everyday and talking to people about this. Like, don't just go out and vote every 4 years, vote every year, find out what's going on. And, kind of to go into a little bit of last week for a second, and not don't just get out and vote, but if you're one of these people that has a voice and that can rally people and that has something to say, put yourself in a position to be voted for.
I think that's critical.
So
All right.
there's a let's take a step back. What we as human beings move usually according to pain or love, or what hurts us, challenges us, or what makes us move to protect what we love and what we protect from challenges. When we see the national election, and Leaf just pointed out, it's a large pain point. It's huge. It kind of laser focuses us on what's around us. But we don't talk about the local, because too often or not, people have succumbed to this belief that everything around them just happens. They don't remember, don't know, or don't recognize that things around them happen because what they're not voting on. So every time, as you pointed out, I'll give some numbers. I believe, like in New York, you have a 56 to 60% voting number, and then the off years will drop down to 25 to 35, 40, which means more than half of the population that can vote will ignore their local situations. And then I believe Jamal and someone else said it, then they'll complain about the shit that are wrong. Oh, I can't believe the lights don't work. I can't believe there's no garbage. I can't believe the motherfuckers let the police kill somebody else. But you're not interested in that thing. I don't know the answer yet, but I do know we have to let people understand, or get them to understand, the pain that they are creating for themselves when they don't go into a booth and pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and your rank, or just pull a lever against yes or no for someone. Until we start to internalize this and see it affects our money, it affects our welfare, it affects our security, we're going to continue to have the same conversation every 4 to 8 years about how we don't do something. The conversation has to switch to folks to see where this affects them personally. I don't have the answer yet. I'm working on it though. I ain't gonna lie. I've been thinking about it a lot for the last 6 months. But that has to happen. It has to happen bad. It's some bullshit.
And that's why I wrote in Kanye West.
I hate you so much.
Oh.
Done. I'm hanging up. I'm gonna go jump in the river. Done.
Yeah, that the local stuff is so important, because when you look at, like, let's say take the mayor's office. I mean, the mayor, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I know there's some people on here that know better than I do, but you appoint the chief of police, you appoint the superintendent of schools, you might appoint some people on the school committee.
The head
you
of the
bring your
library.
people.
Yo, the mayor appoints almost every agency level thing that affects your life, King. From the garbage man to the book.
So it's just like, when you talk about the pain point you were talking about, Ty, it starts at the local level first. A lot of that federal stuff doesn't even really hit us in the broader, grander scheme of things. It's like it should be the reverse. Focus on the local, and then the federal is what it is.
Yeah, like you're saying, Rob, and Ty, you're right. The thing is that focus should be a lead up to year number 4. Every election should be focused on, oh, we got to put the right people in the city council, put the right people in the school committee, put the right people for the mayor's office. And then when it comes to that 4 year, those numbers are always going to be high. We shouldn't have just record numbers every 4 year for a presidential election because people hate Trump and got to get him out. That has to be local to state to national. When we have our Congress vote, our state senates, our senators, we got to make sure that these votes are going in. Because, and I know Boston, I know New York, parts of New York, I guarantee, like you said, the voter turnout is so low. It's like people don't even realize we have an election that next year. It's like everybody gets pumped up for year number 4. And then next year, we'll have 500 people voting in the city of Springfield for in Ward 1. And then the total win is 12,000 votes. Now, that's just crazy. You can't go to sleep. And like you said, when you go to sleep, all this stuff happens around you and all these policies change. Now, I know for a fact that all the things that you do not vote for, that you don't have your eye on, and like you said, Ty, yeah, you're gonna complain, but you did not vote. You did not hold these people accountable. You did not make them move. So it has to start at year one. So this year, yeah, it's a critical vote, but next year is an even more powerful vote because there's people that have seats that are up for grabs, and if we keep them in power, no changes happen locally or for the state, and then we have a problem.
And the stuff is all year round too.
Yes.
Some of the most important stuff is some of the least sexy stuff. We're so personality driven. We go out there and we say, yeah, you know, we're for Tim Smith, we're for, you know, Sally Sue, whatever, whatever. But then when it's time for like a budget hearing, you know, ain't nobody in the room. You know, even we've done the analogies over the years, you know, everybody knows, like, everybody loves their kids, everybody wants the best for their kids. But if you used PTA attendance as an indicator of that, you would be mad screwed up, right? Because nobody's showing up for the meetings, right? So it's a thing where some of the stuff that's happening on the mundane level, that's where the decisions and determinations are made about how much funding is going to, you know, education or what books are going to be in the school next year, or, you know, all these type of decisions that are being made, not just on an election cycle every 4 or every 2 years. These are the things that are going on every Tuesday or Wednesday at your local, you know, school committee and city council meetings and whatnot. And we really got to get involved, you know, with that and apply the pressure locally to our people to be advocating for us at all them levels.
Right. Now, Jamal, I know you get these text messages, like every one of us. We get a text message for a vote for Biden, a Bernie Sanders campaign. They come and text you, oh, I hope we have your vote. I want everybody just to take a moment, because I know these text messages are annoying as hell, because you get them 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. You get phone calls every day. When they text you, text back. What's his platform? What is he going to do for my community? What is he going to do to help me move my agenda forward to make my community better? And wait to see if you're going to get a response and what their platforms are going to be, because more likely they won't respond, because these are their campaign people. But if their campaign people do not know what their candidate stands for, that tells you right there, you're just trying to get our vote. You really don't care what happens in our city,
but they
local or state as well.
And none of them have a platform or an agenda or a plan. And then that's why, you know, that's the vacuum, that's the void that allowed somebody like Ice Cube to slip in. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're hurting.
Yeah, but Keyshawn, remember, those things are automated. Anybody answer?
No. Some of them they got some, like the ones now that I get are specific people. That's what I'm saying. Some of them are specific people. They're really they're trying to get real creative now. And if you say, you know,
some of that's CRM platforms that make it look personalized, but it's not. But it also lets that CRM platform also lets them know, their party know that if you open the email or not.
Right.
And that drives the continued subsequent emails that you get based on that.
They use vans. Even vans.
I said CRM. We got to talk later. You the only other black girl out there that knows what that means. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, you know how we do.
We gotta know these things.
So let me jump in real quick. I'm looking at the comments. My man Lindsey Brown says, "Can somebody speak to how tax brackets affect local elections?"
Oh,
why is that important to know?
Hold on. Let me put my arm up for this one. How you want me to start with this one? I'll put a lower.
Go for it. Any way you want.
So this is one part theoretical, one part practical. You tend to find that the higher the tax bracket, the more often that people are attached to political power and using it. One of the reasons why is that people in power understand that their money affects what's going on around them. They spend more money on politicians. They will pay attention and in our case 311 or 911 to death. So they're literally invested into what's happening in their community. Too often in challenged communities, we are battling the system. When you're battling a system, you want to involve yourself. If you think the system is your enemy, why vote? Why have attention? So your voting you want is definite. And something we don't like to admit, once we get caught up in the system, in the prison pipeline, There are some states where you can't vote, period. And now that affects other people. If I'm not voting, three of you might not vote because you're going to be in line with me in conversation. The conversation alone can interrupt your voting. So there's a one-to-one relationship between money and voting, and money and the execution of your power, which goes back to what we said earlier about civics. Folks would need to know what it means to be after formally incarcerated about voting, what it means to not vote, how that affects what the pipeline and education system is. These things, education and money are always attached. We know this already. And once we start to level the playing field with resources, then we won't see as much. But to level the playing field with resources, we got to put more people in power who are progressive. They can actually outlay the money so it's not just going to a rich and Tony neighborhood, but to all neighborhoods in a fair and equitable manner.
Yeah, and to amplify what Ty's saying, for those folks who are, and I'm not saying this is people on the panel, but for those folks that are into that whole entertainment thing, when you talk about tax brackets, 50 Cent commented that if Trump doesn't win, he's moving out of the country because he understands that Biden's tax plan is going to significantly impact them. And it goes back to people with money. The first thing, the first principle, the first tenet they have is, how do I protect my money and how do I make more? And going on to what Ty says, if you're on a lower income bracket, you just might just complain and not do anything, not vote, but get around and commiserate with other folks in lower tax brackets, while the people with the money, not necessarily doesn't mean they're smarter, but they're trying to protect their position in society.
Not for nothing, once again, people, and this is exactly what I was going to say, people vote their finances, okay? Yep. You know, so yeah, a lot of 50, he can just come out and be his honest, authentic self and say, you know, screw y'all, you know, I'm voting about my bank account, okay? And a lot of people think that way, right? What's that book, Think and Grow Rich?
Yep.
You know, Rich Man, Poor Man, or what have you. So
Robert Kiyosaki.
There's also rich vote, poor vote, because rich people are coming with a perspective that is almost always economic. And once again, like to your point, not to say that they're brighter, not to say that they're brighter at all. I don't care how you made your money. You could have been a rocket scientist or blue collar, but once you get that money, your new goal is keeping that money, right? And poor people who've never had any money vote from a place of pain and disenfranchisement, right? They try
vote at all,
trying to get a leg up. And so that's why voter education is much more important than voter registration or voter participation.
And that goes back to what D said, is teaching civics to our youth and making sure that they come up and understand the power of that vote. And like Ty said, you got to make sure you understand where that power of that economic goes. So education and power and money all go together. So you have to make sure that vote has that political capital to get that economic dollar. That it all goes hand in hand. But just like you guys are saying, it starts right at the ground level. If you're in the low economics, you know, I can't tell you that there's people that won't vote if they're low economics, but they may be voting in with pain and sorrow. But they may want change as well. If they know that these votes or that person that put in power will make things easier for me, and also teaching people about the census and how is that going to help our community, those are the things that we need to do, is educate. That education is key from the ground level, and that's what's missing. It was taken out of school on purpose. And so we have to put it in our communities to make sure that these kids know what's going on, so those generations don't follow that same cycle.
All right. What about the scenario where certain votes are taken for granted? Like you look at the Democratic Party taking black votes for granted for decades. And then you look at, you know, I mean, the Republican Party with the voter suppression, but both parties have instituted some sort of voter suppression in varying degrees. You know, let's talk about that.
Wait, before we do that, can we ask, Demetrius had a question that was valid. You gotta see there about youth and why.
Oh yeah.
So
go ahead.
My question would be this: we have spent a long time voting against our own interests under the guise of color, and the guise, as Jamal said, of charming and charisma and personality. Character personality has been a long problem in the history of mankind, of creating movements. Right now, we have to start teaching our young folks the value of their vote and the value of their dollar, and then move into the value of a philosophy behind both. Because there's three different things. The value of your vote is the importance of voting to move things forward. The value of your dollar is how your dollar, when executed, can create change for yourself and affect your vote. Giving them philosophy is when we get personal about it. Okay, now you understand your money, you understand your power as a citizen. Now let's understand what that means for your community and for yourself. Those two are the three things that are often missing in the conversation. The power of both, and then the philosophy about how to use that power. So now we have these young people who have no idea of any of those three things. They may have heard one or the other, but not all three. It's time to bring all three back into the room. A good example of this would be Black Wall Street in Durham. What a lot of people don't know, the Duke family is one of the reasons why there was a Black Wall Street. John and David Duke, it's funny the names of that. John and David Duke were very much ostracized by the local gentry because they understood for Durham to thrive, there had to be a equitable foundation for economics and voting. They knew they couldn't do the vote. They weren't stupid, but they made sure education and equity in terms of economics was created. And that led to part of Durham getting better and looking better until, of course, they, once again, through the vote, fucked us over, cut the shit in half with that damn highway. And the highway was done because we didn't have the damn votes. So all these
So
things are attached. We have to start teaching them the value of both those two powers and giving them a philosophy of change and progression and community about how to exercise those powers.
So, Ty, let me ask you this. You're talking to, I'm assuming, a bunch of 13, 14-year-olds listening right now. Put that in layman's terms. For the organizers who are working with those young people right now, layman's terms, what
All
should
right,
they be doing right? What should they be doing right now to teach these
one,
kids and prepare them?
to them what the vote really means. So that means how each person's vote works on a local, regional, state, and federal level.
Yep.
One, including primaries. So guys, two, show them what making money is, what earning money is, and what wealth is. It's three different things. Making
Yep.
money is when you're a business. Earning money is when you work for somebody else, and wealth is when you have either one of those two things. You get and accumulate. You can transfer to your family or future generations, and obvious ways like assets, cash, and so forth. And then
Okay.
this part right here is personal. Give them a philosophy of progression that shows they care about their neighborhoods, care about the person, their family, their neighborhood, and their nation. And the nation first got to be your community. Because one thing I've been trying to tell, and I've been showing a lot of these black folks who think they're black power, white people who are poor should be on your side. Because when you live
Yeah.
in Utah, the cops still kill niggas. They just don't kill black people. They kill poor whites. When you live in Montana or Upper Michigan, the cops still killing people. They're not killing black people. They're killing indigenous folks, and they're killing white people. Because the system was set up in a way that to create this separation and create this power structure. White supremacy is about racism, xenophobia, and classism. And the police, above the Mason-Dixon, have been about keeping property in line, keeping those three things healthy. Racism, xenophobia, and classism. So the more we understand these things, so black or white, start teaching your children the philosophy behind white supremacy, and maybe a generation or two, you may have a little bit of revolution, not the kind they want. There's gonna be some black and white folks storming the building, talking about, hey, y'all all gotta go. I may
Hey,
never see it, but that's the real.
Hey, Jamal, could you take a stab at that? I'd like to hear
Yeah,
your response to that question too.
yeah. So one thing, first of all, and brother Ty touched on it earlier. But the voting thing is, the question as it was posed was like, what do you say to a kid who says, well, y'all been voting all this time and it ain't got you nothing, right? So that's just like work. You could look at your parents and say, well, shoot, you've been working for 40, 50 years and we ain't rich, right? Why work? Right? Or you could say that about education or whatnot. You know what I mean? Man, you went to college all them years, 4 years, you did another 2, and you know what I mean? And you ain't Neil deGrasse Tyson, so why go to college? You know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't. But I think there's certain things we just can't discourage just because, this or that. There's a lot of practices that we engage in that kind of have to move forward. Some practical suggestions for people who are around you, what you can do. Okay, figure out what you are interested in. Pick an issue. And then as an exercise, let's put on our little Mr. Rogers sweater. Go find the corresponding law to that. So, for instance, let's say you got a group of kids right now who are interested in policing stuff. Look up the Massachusetts laws that are right now being proposed for police reform, and just read it with them. Go through it with them. A lot of folks don't read this stuff. All these kids hopefully are in school. Go to your local city council. Pull up the last couple of ordinances or the budget on what was happening in the school that they go to or what have you, so that folks, understand and just read it. Nothing like demystifying it. A lot of us grew up in school. We talked about the Constitution, and a lot of us didn't read it. A lot of us grew up in church talking about the Bible, and folks didn't read it. But then when it comes to a video game that we get, you see my thing right here, right? Then when it comes to a video game we'll get to level 87 and download all the cheat codes. We get the doggone book, you know what I mean? All that type of stuff to get to another level of a video game, and often don't take those same types of initiatives in our own. We on level 87 in the video game and on level 1 in life.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely. Denise Jordan.
Man, I take umbrage to that statement, man.
How you mean? I'm a gamer, bro. You see, I'm a gamer. Right? Look, I'm trying to be on level 87 in both. That's my point. Some people don't have the balance. You see what I'm saying? And that's the point. What I'm saying, particularly for our youth. I used to do with the kids that I would do. Right? You get a video game every time you can show me a book that you completed, and I want you going through chapters in that book like levels in that video game. Period.
You know what? I think
Yo,
let me just say,
I got
can
to
you hear
jump
me?
off, man.
Yeah, Ty has to go.
I got to.
All right, Ty.
I got to join.
No, do what you do, bro.
Peace, God. Nice to meet
you. Peace.
Peace, yo, and we'll exchange
John.
numbers through D-Moss. Peace.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, we'll make that happen, y'all. We'll make it happen.
Sean, I see you on the basketball court. Bring your no game. All right,
Who are you gonna see?
He's gone. All right. I forgot what I was gonna say. I think the other thing is for folks who are working with young people, or if they're just working with cats from impacted neighborhoods, from our neighborhood. I just think people need to take the time to mentor people, walk cats who have an interest in the political process, literally walk them through the process. You can't just do everything for everybody. If you work downtown, get folks downtown. If you're, if we have Black elected officials, I know when I was working with Dominic, I don't think I went out of 12 years I was there. I don't think I ever went without having at least 2 Black interns to make sure that they were learning to navigate that process downtown and actually putting them in a position where they can replace myself with someone else. I just think we all need to be doing that, no matter where we live in the country. So I think that's critical. I had some other questions. When they talk about Black voters, should we only vote? Go ahead, Knief.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but before we go to that, I just want to say something else about this question that Demetrius put up there. Yep. When he talked about, what do we tell them about voting and that they are living in the same conditions as our parents who voted, the questions that I asked are, what are those conditions? Because if you're talking about a financial condition, how much of that is really about your vote versus the strategy that you need to get where you want to go? If it's about, racism, how much of that is about the vote versus the action you need to take to help affect legislation that you can then vote on or vote for someone who's going to vote for that? And I think sometimes we confuse the conditions that we're living in or that our parents lived in, with voting being ineffectual, because we're not looking at the fact that there's certain things. Let's just be honest. There are certain things that voting is not going to be the most effective thing for, and that's okay.
But you know what? Let me jump in on that point. I think we get it twisted sometimes because there's the electoral process and then there's the political process itself. So the electoral process is just the process of getting people into office, electing someone. We often talk about that. You're right. The vote alone ain't going to do it. I vote Hanif in for office, right? I vote Hanif in to become my congressman. And then I don't follow up on the political process side of it. Calling your office every day, sending letters, rallying around every decision that you make, then I'm not doing due diligence. And the thing is, like I heard Rob talk about all politics are local. He mentioned school board, city council, mayor, alderman, all that stuff. But we didn't mention our senators and our congressmen. Congressman right here in Springfield, he's voted locally. You dig? So it's kind of like we have to do more than just tell people that, your vote's not responsible for your condition. But it is. Because if I don't elect the right person in office, then I don't get access to those resources, to the opportunities, and the list goes on and on. So I think there's two tiers to this. We're so obsessed with that vote that we completely forget about that political piece. Yo, if you have the influence to get 100 people at a party, but you can't get 50 people to show up at a city council meeting when you need it, there's a problem. I don't give a damn what your name is, who your family members are. You could have been the city council president for 10 years, but if you can't get 5 people in a room, you're the wrong person that we should be voting for. We need people who can move the crowd. We need people who the crowd can identify with. You dig? So I think we have to be cognizant of that. You're right. The vote isn't the response. I mean, we talk about the vote and his environmental conditions, his economic conditions. It has everything to do with who we vote for. The jobs that come into town, that comes from the mayor all the way down to the chief of staff over to the director of planning and economic development. And where they're sending people to recruit when they talk using terms like qualified, very subjective. That shit it tears down from the top. So it has everything to do with who we elect. And I think we got to be clear about that.
Yeah.
The education in our school system, let me just finish this thought. The education in our school system, that shit trickles down from the mayor, chief of staff, superintendent, and then we got those school board members who are freaking invisible all damn day. There's no accountability. When our kids get out of school, they get caught up in the gang shit, the street shit, kids getting pregnant, whatever the case may be. We never hold school committee members or school board members accountable for anything. When we talk about city councilors locally, when you got our communities are being decimated by all these social ills, we blame the mayor, but we won't blame them city councilors. Damn it, you're an elected official too, which means you need to be visible and you need to establish a strong presence. So who we vote for has everything to do with how we live and where we live. When they start tearing down, I'm in Springfield. When they tore down all the parking on Boston Road, we went from about 50 black businesses down to about 10. How does that impact us? Everybody voted for Charlie Ryan. Charlie Ryan got in, made decisions that negatively impact black communities. That vote influenced everything that he thinks he can do. Dominic Sarno, he's clearing house. Any black person that seems anti-establishment, anti-law enforcement, getting rid of. In the meantime, we have property owners who have fought their whole lives to keep their homes intact. They're losing their money to tax title. They're losing their homes to tax title. We're not asking those questions. How many black families across the country have lost their property, their land? Fuck a vote. Let's talk about the land that we're losing. All that boils over to who we vote for. And if we're not cognizant of who we vote for and how we utilize that vote and how we follow up on that vote, then we're not doing due diligence. I hear everything Ty is saying, but fuck a vote if I can't get 50 of y'all to rock with me every time we go to City Hall to make sure that we can get some policy changes. Them little zoning and ordinance things that we sleep on impact us immensely. So I'm sorry I have to get off my soapbox. I'm just sitting here listening to everybody else. So I'm going to step off my soapbox.
But that's part of where I was trying to go. I'm gonna give you a good example. Like, when this unemployed, when this pandemic happened, I'm a professional musician. Yeah, I also teach music, but I lost a crap ton of work. And then I was told I couldn't apply for unemployment until April because of being majority self-employed. And then no one's answering the phone. I call my local senators, I call my federal senators, I call all these people. No one wants to respond. And when someone finally responds, they're like, well, it's going to take a few weeks, before we can get back to you because we have to investigate. I said, I bet your attitude is going to change when I tell you that, I run a jazz night in Hartford with a whole lot of people that actually listen to me. And it's taking you this long to actually get back to one person because I don't have, major money coming into your campaign. But guess what I do have? I have made a constituency of people that actually pay attention to what the hell I say. So let's see how fast you're going to get on this. When you go do your homework, find out I'm not lying. I kid you not. Within 1 week, they had an answer. I give you that story to say this. There are some of us, as you were saying, D, that are in our communities that know how to rally people and that know how to take, okay, we've done the voting part. Now we've got to do the advocacy part. There are other people that are already in the machine, that already know how this works, that are willing to educate people, but not enough people are willing to be educated. Stop thinking that it's the voting booth and the voting booth only. The voting booth is important, but what we do after the voting booth is even more important. Because you have a lot of people that will tell us anything that they think we want to hear to get in office. And then once they're in office, they're like, oh, fuck them. I don't care. I'm going to just do whatever I want now because I'm already here. No, we got to hold them accountable every day. And so when we talk about this, I think you said it right, Dean, when you talk about separating the actual vote from the political process, because we sometimes think they're one and the same, and they're not. So I think that's an important part of this education about when we talk about, does our vote matter? Yeah, of course it matters. But there's something else that matters just as much, if not even more so, after we exercise that vote. And I don't think enough of us are doing that.
I want to say this too. There's a certain level of idol worship that goes on too, right? Where we assume because so and so is city council, Billy Bob, or state representative Jimmy Joe, right? Then all of a sudden that makes them a genius, right?
Right.
Or did they come from, whatever? Because some of these people, oh, well, I'm a lawyer, or I'm a doctor. How many stupid lawyers you done ran into? How many dumb doctors? Man, people throw around like, well, I'm a lawyer. Well, I want to see your grades from law school. You with a D+. Listen, so let's not play those games, right?
Absolutely.
And so what ends up happening is that actually, it's not even just that we have to stay engaged. Those people need us. Because oftentimes those people are empty vessels that don't have ideas of their own. They have to be filled in with the ideas that emanate from the ground. So, great little stupid example. A little urban. What was that old story with the boy with the finger in the dike? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But right, and y'all know the language I'm using. But that old fable, that old folktale, now it's, if there is flooding on 13th Street, right? Who knows about it? It's the people that say, yo, the sewer at 13th Street continually overflows. The politicians often don't know what's going on over there because they're not on 13th Street. And then it's the people that say, yo, there has to be a fix for it. Yo, you need to do this. I think it's the rain. Well, I think it's whatever it is. And it's the people often that take these things up, and that's how it has to go. And I'm going to just end on this. I was sitting here because I'm a funny guy. I'm a comparison guy. I was sitting here trying to figure out who Hanif reminded me of the whole time you've been talking, bro. And that's why when you was like, I'm a musician, I was like, oh. And then you said jazz. I said, oh. You know who you remind me of, brother? The great George Duke.
Oh, okay. I can see it.
Here's what you just did when you said that. You got all my jazz musician friends that are watching this that going to have something else to say, because I done had one of them. Matter of fact, I was in your city performing, and the photographer took a picture. I don't know how one of them ragging on me, talking about, looked like Al B. Sure out in Boston playing live jazz.
I was about to say Teddy Pendergrass.
Every light-skinned man worth his salt has got a good Al B. Short joke in their lifetime. You know what I mean?
So let me ask everybody this. I'm gonna change switch it. I have a couple of questions I want to have y'all answer because I had people who were asking me, and I was like, I just throw it out there, let cats answer it. Should black people, are black people a monolith? There's this assumption that black people all think alike, vote alike, walk alike, talk alike. Somebody please educate some of my non-black brothers and sisters about the fact that we either are or are not. I say are not a monolith. Who'd like to speak to that?
We are most definitely not a monolith.
Hell no.
Let's start here. Let's start with Louisville right now, the Attorney General of Kentucky. Let's start with the fact that now it's come out that he lied. He didn't give the option for murder to be pursued. He didn't seek for justice like he said. He talked about how tragic this is and sometimes this is justice. No, you did what your master wanted you to do. You said, yes, master, I'm going to do what you want me to do. No, master, the cops are not going to get in trouble. And now that some people done told on you, now you're trying to cover your tracks. So we are not a monolith. And the reason why I bring that up as my example is because so many people were out there crying for justice. And they weren't asking for these people to be murdered. They were asking for them to be arrested and held accountable. And we can't even agree on that, let alone agree on some other matters when it comes to policy and politics. Let's look at, what's that guy? Oh, I'm trying to remember his name right now, and I can't remember his name. The guy who goes to a Trump rally supporting Trump, because he's a staunch Republican. Then catch
Herman Cain? Yeah. Herman Cain? Yeah. That's Keyshawn's uncle.
First uncle.
I'm acting like my screen froze. Son. Hell no.
and then if we take it on we take it on another level. Let's look at these entertainers. The headline in, what was it, 2 days ago, the headline in the New York Post, 50 Cent said, if Joe Biden gets elected, I'm going to be called 20 Cent. He's more concerned about how this affects his income than he is about the people that he supposedly, represents.
Can I say something on that?
Sure.
What's crazy? It's not even so much about what 50 said. It's about the way the New York Post knows that we are so conditioned to believe their fucking narrative. Everything is about narrative. Yep. So 50's just a rapper. What the fuck? I care what a rapper got to say.
Exactly.
When I can tune in and hear what Jamal Crawford has to say about what's going down in Boston, I don't care about 50. So, but the mere fact they made a headline and we made a huge deal. Who cares what you think? You dig? It's the narrative. But I'm sorry, I just had to seg off of that because I got this thing about narrative and them always telling us our story. That's some bullshit. But go ahead and
the reason why I bring that particular point up is because we're talking about, are we a monolith? Are we all thinking alike? How do we think? Look, there's enough of us out here that, even though all of us on this panel, we can put out 5 different issues and we're going to all have 5 different thoughts. We may agree what the end result should be, but we may not necessarily agree on the path to that end result.
Exactly.
And that's perfectly fine. But what we need to understand more than anything else is we need to learn how to develop a consensus and say, okay, no matter, we all agree on the end result. We may not all agree on the path to get there, but let's find what's going to be the best path overall and let's keep moving. So no, definitely not a monolith. We can look at so many different places and examples to show that.
Okay.
So, that the whole monolith thing, everything that Hanif said is on point. But here's the challenge, because we talk about narrative and the media is pushing that narrative so heavy, but it's being abutted by real black folks saying no, I don't. I have a divergent thought process. I think I'm either left or right or progressive or liberal or conservative. No, we're not all a monolith. So the media keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. And now, because a lot of black folks in this country have woken up, they're pushing back. And that's one of the things that the Democrats are afraid of. They're no longer just getting the black vote for nothing. that whole benign neglect policy that Richard Nixon instituted back in the 70s, don't promise anything, don't do nothing. You know, that whole thing is evaporating slowly but surely, but it's evaporating. And people aren't falling for the okey doke. And we're changing the narrative. And black people want to stop being disrespected. Why are you talking to Cardi B about political issues? Why are you talking to 50 Cent about political issues? You don't go to Tom Brady and ask him what his thoughts are, or Jerry Seinfeld or Sylvester Stallone. So why are you putting all these people in front of us? And we're kind of like, yeah, you know what? You've been using the old playbook, and it's been working for a few decades or so, or maybe more than a few decades. But now you got to switch it up.
And that's what I wanted to say. That whole monolith thing, I take it as an insult. You said black people are tired of being disrespected. I take it as disrespect, because when they really kind of say that, it goes to mainstream white America's view that basically all of us are some TV character. Pick one.
Yeah.
You know, are you Urkel? Are you Dynamite? Are you know what I'm saying? Like what are you? Are you Carlton? Like pick one. Or it's gonna go into the rap celebrity or the entertainment thing. I mean, like, God bless LeBron and whatnot, but that motherfucker's not no genius. You know what I mean? 50 Cent is certainly richer than me. Has been places I haven't been, both geographically and rooms and negotiated deals, and can certainly beat me in a push-up contest or some shit like that. But I'm pretty sure that he ain't read the shit that I read and don't know the shit that I know. One of the most telling things was one of the smartest people that they talk about in hip hop is this dude T.I., right?
Yeah.
And do y'all remember when T.I. got into trouble talking about his daughter's hymen, which is generally a no-no for fathers, right? But when he did that and got on that red table talk, Jada Pinkett and her gorgeous mama, who I'm trying to find out if she's into entanglements. Right, listen, holla at me, mama.
The whole family is.
Hey, but no, for real. They started talking about patriarchy, and here is the most intelligent guy in hip hop who said, "Well, I just don't know what patriarchy is." Okay. No, and that's why you run around murdering the English expeditiously and see, that's really what we're dealing with now. So when they say a monolith, who am I? Am I T.I.? Am I 50 Cent? Am I the ones who are supposed to be smart? Am I Charlemagne the God? Like, come on. So unfortunately for them, and a lot of these people who are doing a lot of these in-depth interviews, I've been trying to hit them up. I'm like, forget all this celebrity stuff. Y'all need to go find like real people from wherever you at and have, at least once a month or something, have like a real conversation with a regular person. Because, like if the revolution comes, a lot of these dudes' necks is on the chopping block to me. You know what I mean? Like, don't put me with Snoop Dogg. What is he? Voting for pimping? Like, I don't get down with a lot of this stuff, and that whole monolith thing is crazy. And even with quote unquote respectable people, y'all use the Herman Cain analogy. We can do Clarence Thomas. We could, you know what I mean? What they say, all skin folk ain't kinfolk and all that. So yeah, a monolith, not even. And if we were to pick a monolith, who we gonna be? Malcolm X or T.I.?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's people that they avoid. You don't see Dr. Claude Anderson coming up on these discussions. I mean, this dude will help write policy, for Christ's sake. You know, man, it's crazy, but we're waking up. We're waking up.
Cube said but I don't think he understood what he said.
What did Cube say?
Cube said he actually talked to Claude Anderson in the formation of his thing. But I'm trying to tell you, I don't think the Cube understood what he said. So it's like you can't be the decipherer. You can't be the deliverer of information. You're talking to people who are above your pay grade. If I need advice on how to bring Jerry Curls back, I'll holler at you. I don't want Ice Cube. I don't even want Ice Cube talking to Claude Anderson unless it's like a mentorship developmental program. You know, give me the Claude Anderson. You can pay for the Claude Anderson plan, but don't tell me that you got the Ice Cube plan and you went and talked to Claude Anderson because you didn't.
Yo, I'm sorry, man. You said Jerry Curl.
Keyshawn, man, didn't you have Jerry Curls back in the day? I think I saw an old photo of you.
My hair's too kinky, bro.
With a Chess King leather tie, little thin joints.
No, he's right, man. Oh my God.
You had Chess King out there? Okay.
Oh God.
But Jamal,
you right on point, bro.
You're clearly spot on, man. It's spot. And I think the thing is, when we talk about the they in the room and who they go to, yo, man, it's all the more reason why we need more mediums, because they're gonna write whatever they want to write for white folks. They're gonna do that. For those middle of the road Negroes who want to read that ish and read it verbatim and take it as law, they're gonna write it anyway. But I think for folks, as Rob, as you say, folks are waking up. Tragically, they're not waking up as much as we think they are. T.I., Killer Mike, they drive me crazy when I listen to them. They drive me crazy. Like, bruh, just quiet for a minute. They're
getting a huge following for that too.
I dig the fact that they're passionate about their community.
Yes.
But you know what? There's times when certain cats are speaking. If I want to talk about jazz, as much as I love jazz music, I could listen to it all day. But when it comes time to talk about jazz, Hanif, go ahead. Tell them what I would love to say. If I want to talk about local politics in a large city, I'm in tiny ass Springfield. Jamal, what's going on with black folks in the largest city? You go to the people who can speak on those issues, and I think that's incumbent upon us to find the people to document document their thoughts and talk with them about what they're thinking. I think we have to do a better job of that. As we talk about politics, that's all part of the awareness. It's not just about educating on who the best candidate is. It's about educating on how to enhance our awareness of who we are and what we should be thinking. So I'm just saying, that's just my 2 cents.
Right.
But Jamal, you spot on. Did anybody else want to talk about that a little bit? So I think we already tackled the whole "are all black people liberal?"
Man, these terms, man, it's like, where are these terms coming from?
For real.
And who's putting these terms on us? You know what I mean? It's kind of like the old saying.
Rob, my 11th grade history teacher would never fucking lie to me, so watch your mouth.
I caught a detention for pushing back on my history teacher when she told me that Hannibal of Carthage was white, and I said, "Nah, he's not." I earned a detention for that because I couldn't tell Karen no. But it's just like the old saying.
Hannibal Lecter, he white.
Yeah, that Hannibal. Keyshawn Lecter, that dude's white.
Yo,
it's just kind of like they say, follow the money.
So bringing it back in. So Rob, you were saying, are we liberal? They say they tend to throw us in that liberal pot because it seems like we're always fighting for social justice issues. And I think
that's the narrative they want to put on us.
Thank you.
But that's it. That's the narrative they want to put on us. They want to infuse us with that. They want to overlay that on us. That's their narrative. That whole argument with like, oh, we got criminal justice reform. That presupposes that every person that's black is a criminal.
Criminal, right.
So you mean when Donald Trump said that he fought for reform, court reform, prison reform, that debate, I tried to watch it, but I couldn't. But when they talked about race relations and he brought up the prisons and cages and all that other shit, so that we don't fit in that box is what you're saying. But we're liberal, so we should be supporting Dominic Trump. What's his name? Dominic Trump? Donald Trump. That's his name.
Look at Keyshawn.
Yo, I swear it wasn't up purpose.
Marquee on it.
He likes the blacks. He likes the blacks.
It's interesting. I wish I could find it, but I saw a video of a black woman talking to this LGBT couple about how she was upset at LGBT community trying to what she say once again hijack another movement about focused on Black people. And she said, if you want to be honest, most Black people are actually very conservative, and as you define conservative, what we believe, but that doesn't mean we're Republican. And I think it's a very interesting way to put it, because the message she was trying to get across is my values are very conservative based on what the actual definition of the word conservative is, not what you politicize the word to be. But just because I have conservative values doesn't mean that I'm going to align with someone who calls himself a conservative. Because in actuality, what are you really, politically speaking, a conservative for? You're a conservative for the things that benefit the people that have bought and paid for you, not the people that actually voted for you and put you in office. What are you liberal for? You're liberal for the people that bought and paid for you, not the people that actually put you in office. And that's one of the things that, that cracks me up. Like, I don't like either party at all. I don't think either party has ever been in the best interest of Black people, nor do I think have either party ever been in the best interest of the American people at large. Ever since we've seen the influx of money, especially from corporations and rich people in politics, many of the politicians are therefore the person who has bought and sold them. Period. They treat, and I mean, it's like, I'm not even trying. I can't take Jamal's role and try to be funny, but it's like, it's like the NBA draft with some of these politicians. Like, you look at who's donating to their campaign, and that's who they're going to advocate for. So, like, the actual terms of liberal, conservative, I mean, throw them joints out the window, because they're not. First off, they're not even universally applied to the people that call themselves liberal or conservative to begin with. I mean, because the Republicans that are supposed to be conservatives were truly conservative, they would never back someone like Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a plutocracy at the end of the day. I had not an argument, but I had a conversation with somebody who was talking about the social atrocities going on in China and all, and I was like, if you juxtapose the United States with China, you're going to see make the same amount, if not more, atrocities. And the United States is 250 something years old, and China's like 3,000 years old. It's like you're comparing apples and oranges. So, I mean, of course, the person didn't understand what the hell I was saying, so I ended that conversation pretty quickly. But when you look at that whole narrative, right? When you look at white supremacy and the intersectionality, everything that they're trying to impose on Black people, you've got the media up there at the top, which is the marketing, advertising, the Madison Avenue arm of white supremacy. Then you've got all the different layers, whether it's the LGBTQ is the white, that arm of white supremacy. The feminist movement is that arm of white supremacy. Everything is encapsulated in white supremacy, but why do Black people always take the blame for everything?
So are you saying we're not?
But we're a monolith. Okay.
Hey, now, I'm going to ask you, but do y'all remember back in the good old days, back when George Bush was the worst president we had ever seen? Okay.
George Bush, senior or junior?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that we thought that was the devil incarnate. That's as worse as it could get. Boy, I would pay money to bring either one of them back right now, and I would walk them into Washington on my shoulders,
bruh. When
Wow.
George comes out and criticizes Donald Trump and tells him he got some race issues, that's when it's like. That's like the dude who smoked weed looking at the crackhead and saying, bro, you got problems. It's like, bro, you a wino. I just drink beer all day. It's like, that's some crazy. You're right. I'll bring them back.
Now, my mama at the time, my dear sweet mama, right, who is a super, I'm going to say like a Jesus freak, right, has no other logic. This is to the question of are Black people liberal? She has no other logic, no other political mechanism other than she told me this guy is the person who I have heard mention Jesus the most. All these references to Jesus and God. And so she voted for George Bush Sr. and later Jr. based on only those facts. Period.
Don't get me started with that because that pisses me off. And now that you don't
Go
say
ahead,
it,
Hanif. Go ahead, Hanif. Get
Hey,
him.
don't say nothing bad about my
All right.
mama.
This pisses this is
Don't talk about Miss Jenkins.
man. Look, well, I'm gonna tell you why this pisses me off because I am someone that believes in God. That's a Christian that believes in the Bible. But I can't stand the fact that we won't, when we talk about Christianity and religion, we won't actually have the conversation about how so much of what we talk about with Christianity and religion is still based off of this slave version of Christianity that was used to deceive and keep people bound, keep people captive. People forget, when we talk about Nat Turner's rebellion, people forget the reason why his rebellion started in the first place was because he ignored the slave master and actually read the entire book, not just the passages that they were saying to keep people in line. And when he read the entire book, he's like, wait a minute, they've been lying to us. This ain't right. And that was one of the things that sparked that rebellion. And what pisses me off when we start talking about that conversation is—
Hold up,
like,
time out. So the fact that he was a slave had nothing to do with the rebellion. It was his reading of the Bible.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's part of it.
By that.
No, I'm not saying that's the all. I'm not saying that's the all of it. I'm saying that's part of it.
Okay.
So we have this issue where we want to sit there and say, oh my gosh, they mention Jesus. They talk about all these things that Jesus liked. But how are you going to sit there and talk about Trump as the candidate for Jesus when this man has had how many affairs, was a frequent visitor to Epstein Island? Oh, let's don't want to talk about that one. Has lied every day since he's been in office. Every time he's fact checked, it's showing he's told another lie. So this is the guy that's done adultered, that's done stolen, that doesn't obey government, that said on the air that he doesn't.
Corinthians.
And says on the air. Says on the air that he doesn't need to ask for forgiveness because he's always good. And your Bible tells you that's a lie. And that's the guy you say is for Jesus. We need to stop acting like, the Jesus you're talking about would be endorsing the politics that you want me to endorse.
That's the beauty of hypocrisy.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with someone who does not believe in what I believe or who doesn't agree with what I don't with what I agree with in terms of my belief. But when you start using this belief as a tool to try to get my vote, and you're being a hypocrite at that, get out of my face with that. That pisses me off because it paints a very false picture as to what this really is versus what it isn't. So my thing is, like, there's so many people though that are like that. There are people, I ain't gonna get mad when I'm saying it. There are people in my church that I've had conversations with. Like, how could you support that man?
When I see, like, when I talk about political hypocrisy, and I mean, this example is really egregious, but your example too, your examples that you cited, Hanif, were egregious too. But do you remember that senator back in Arizona years ago who struck down a same-sex bill for the state and said it was religious hypocrisy, it was just unnatural, and then gets busted at the airport tapping shoes under the stall?
The stall, yeah.
That was Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Was that Florida? Was that Arizona or was that Florida?
That was Florida.
Florida. I mean,
there's been quite a few. So,
the hypocrisy there was just. I'm like, dude, these people say things and then they do things.
Exactly.
And they never make the connection. And when you make that connection, they look at you like you're crazy.
You know what? Y'all just brought them right back into the room. We just spent 10 minutes talking about them. The bottom line is this country was built on a Christian philosophy. Slave masters and everybody before them and the folks after them. So to even have that conversation is kind of crazy. With all due respect, Hanif, I dig what you're saying. But it's like when it comes down to Christianity, man, I have to grab it with question marks and shit. I look at that the same way I do slavery. They both arrived, for me, they arrived at the same time. So, but that's another story for another day, because my mama was like Jamal's mama. Everything was Jesus, God, God, and Jesus. down home, backwoods Pentecostal. So I get it. I think that's a conversation for another show. But let me move on and ask this. Black candidates matter most to black people. Do we only vote black? Talk to me.
Obviously not.
No.
But go ahead.
I wish.
That's the myth. I'm thinking of like, I tried to pin down 5 myths that pertain to black people and our vote as we talk about how relevant our vote is. Let's talk about the myth. Do we only vote black? Did we only vote for Barack Obama because his father was
that's another one. I mean,
that's the only example of us like voting black. I mean, Jamal said it. Every brother's not a brother.
Yeah,
and my Chuck D voice.
Kinfolk and kinfolk. That's what it is. So I mean, look. We all know that everybody that runs for office that is black may not be for us. They may get the base up and want us to be all for them, but when they get in office, they change their vibe. They go with the current, and they don't go what we want. They don't go for the people that they got voted in. Some of these politicians that are black ain't really for us. They want to be in that old guard and want to have that movement of power, but then forget about where they come from and don't even visit the communities that they got voted in for. They come in only during election time. But then you have some.
I'm not going to do anything that's just for black people.
No, it's not. Come on. But when they come to us and we put them up to be voted for and they ask us for their vote, but once they get in and they see they can get an entire city to vote or an entire state to vote for them, we become secondary. Our concerns become secondary, and they only come to us during the election year, wanting to do things in our community or for us, thinking that we're going to get their vote. That's when we stop and say, "Hold up, you're worse than the other people. You're worse than them. You're using us worse than everybody else because you think because you are the same skin color, be it lighter or darker, you think because you look like us, we're going to vote for you, and that's wrong. We got to hold them more accountable than they do to other people." Because we should expect more from ourselves and make sure that we do more for our community and not just be there and act like everybody else. Because then that cycle continues to be done. Because what they do is they learn from who is in power, and who is in power doesn't look like them, and they rather get their support than ours. And that's when we got to say enough is enough.
But typically, isn't that after we vote them in because they black?
I think it's after. Most of the time it's after because they present a good picture, especially before they can present a good picture of, oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. But we also know that the educated ones that have been on the front lines, have been there, knows that you just can't go in and make change like that. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice. But if you can be corrupted and changed because, oh, you know what, just vote for this and I'll give you this. But if you can't be compromised, that's when you know that you're still about it. There's very few that can go in and not be compromised. And not go for that old guard and saying, hey, I need you on my side for this and I'll get that. But no, you got a community that's backing you, and you can't be afraid to make those changes on your own. Those are the true politicians that you want to see. Someone that's not going to be a career politician that's just going to go with the flow and then forget about you.
But we give white elected officials the benefit of the doubt.
And we gotta stop that shit too. That's the problem.
Yeah, we gotta stop that. Yeah, we gotta stop that.
They don't come to our neighborhoods. They look at us like we're criminals. They talk down to us. I have a black guy with me now. We had Joe Kennedy. They were pimping him around Springfield. And I raised my hand and kindly asked him, dude, you have 20 A's over here. You have one black dude in the back. Is this gonna be reflective of your congressional staff? Senatorial staff, should you be Ed Markey? This dude proceeded to tell me about some Iraqi dude who worked in his office. What the hell that got to do with black people? But when I looked at the number of black people who got behind Joe Kennedy, who I think he's a congressman in the first district, first congressional district, he ain't did shit for black folks up there. So, but we were pimping him around Springfield, and people actually handed that man a vote. I ain't never seen him in the neighborhood. Key, I've never seen him. I never seen him in your family center.
No.
I don't know if he hang out with y'all down in the clubs down in the Berry. I don't know.
No, but see, this is
right?
But this is where I have my problem, D, because like I said, they come around when it's election time, and this is where we always have our fight. It's like, and I tell them, I don't want your help when it's convenient for you, because we're struggling daily. We're struggling on those times when you don't need to be voted for. We got people in the community where our houses are being dilapidated. We have absentee landlords. We got people that want to keep their homes. They got food they can't even get to their homes. But you want to be absent when you can make those great changes. But when it's time for you to get the vote, and it's like that cycle. It's like, oh, it's election season, so now we start calling them because they have to come. No, they need to come when it's after that. And I tell them every single time, every last one that I talk to, don't come to me in February of your election year because I'm going to say, get the hell out of here. I want to see you after November 3rd. I want to see you come around when you don't have anything to lose, but more to gain for the community. And
you know what, Keyshawn, when you push back like that, they come at you with a black face.
They actually
send
do.
a black guy over to talk to you.
But guess what?
Like that's supposed to make it better.
No, but guess what? That's why we got to make that noise, and we got to have more people. It just can't be myself. It has to be every community center that sees it. It has to be every leader in the community that sees it. Is that they just can't come in here and go for a photo op. You come in for 15 damn minutes. You ain't did nothing to talk to nobody but come and take a photo, post it on Facebook. I'm here doing this. You ain't did a damn thing but come and show up and then take your shirt off and go roll to the next event. You didn't put down the effort. And that shit pisses me off because this is the things that they have going on throughout every single year. Every year. And we fall for the okie doke. And I'm sick and tired of it. Your money ain't shit because you don't put it in our community. You use our numbers, our poverty rate, and you give it to everybody else. And we sit here with our twiddling our thumbs, not knowing how to make that right. And now that's when we got to stand up and fight.
So Keyshawn, so how do you really feel, Keyshawn?
I'm pissed.
I'm just asking. Yo, Dal, some guy named Shane, some person named Shane's got a comment. Did you see that?
I can't get it on because my computer is kind of frozen, so I'm just lucky I still got it right now.
I got it. It says people like Donald Trump make social justice political when it should be common sense. It's disgusting to watch the division. It's time for both parties to start respecting black people and especially the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party needs to start caring about black and brown people and fighting for them like they say they do.
And listen, the Democratic Party they're scared right now, and that's why they want to win so bad, so they can put all these laws into place to allow immigrants and illegal immigrants to vote, so the black vote doesn't carry so much weight for them.
But the other part is that Donald Trump has put in all these federal judges for lifetime seats and is about to put another one in. That's a conservative that's going to change all the laws, not just for us, but for Native Americans, for everybody. Things that were in place in our country that may have been good and may have not been so good for us, but they're going to change to fit their bill. It's not going to benefit us. The stuff that they've done, they've secretly done. And I'm telling you, this man is a master of deception. He's lied on purpose every single day. He's done everything wrong so the people behind him can make these national, local, and federal changes in policies and procedures that happen locally for us and nationally for us that screws us up in every single way. Just like you said in Kentucky with the black guy that just didn't even give the evidence to the grand jury.
Oh, Daniel Cameron?
Because he can hide stuff because he's working for those people. And he's controlled. You do this, and I'll take care of you. He's thinking about self, not community. These are what the people do. They make sure that they get the good old boys and the Uncle Tom, the boys that they can follow. They can get the dude to shuck and jive and do everything for them, and it hurts us in the end.
Oh, you calling the coons out? You calling the coons out?
Yeah. Every last one of them.
All right. So Jamal, about 5 minutes ago, before Keyshawn stepped onto the soapbox.
My bad.
I mean,
hey, you started it, D. You did.
I just asked a question, man. I'm interested. So let me ask y'all, since my man Shane is one of my former interns in the mayor's office. That's my dude. Can Donald Trump? I almost said Donald Trump. Can Donald Trump win over black voters?
Some of them. Yeah,
I was gonna say he's won over a bunch of them already.
Yeah, well, Diamond and Silk, right?
All right.
But you know what? It's like you say that, though. There's a lot of black people that are so upset with the Democratic Party that are truly going to listen to Donald Trump and see what he really has
Rightfully
to say.
So, they're upset.
And
Rightfully
I can't be mad at him. I can't be mad at him, but I look at how disgusting and hateful this man is. I can't get past that. To even look at his policies or his whatever his economic plans are, I can't get past the fact that this man is such a devil and deceitful that I don't want to listen to what you have to bring to the table because all of it is evil to me. And it only benefits you and your boys. So that's the part that bothers me. So, but I can understand why people don't even want to deal with the Democratic Party because their empty promises are up. Their time is up.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one of the best political like DC biopics, I don't know if you all saw this, is The Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy. You remember that movie?
Yes.
Where he's like, the dude's like, if you want money, I've got the gun advocates, the agricultural advocates that will give you money. But if you're on the other side of the argument, I got those folks that will give you money. So either way,
you're gonna win.
You're gonna win.
So the thing is about Trump when it comes to black votes is that there are always going to be black voters that are going to vote for someone like Trump. Some of them are doing it because of their alignment with the Republican Party. Some of them are doing it because they believe whatever the propaganda is about them. But man, that's the same thing with the Democratic Party too. I mean, for the same reasons we're talking about why black people are going to vote for Trump, are some of the same reasons why we're going to have black people voting for Biden too, because they're going to believe what's being said is going to be in their best interest and not actually going to find out whether what's being said is in their best interest or how to follow up to make sure that what's being said, at least some of it they can be held to task for. But man, Trump has got this machine around him that he says the news is fake unless he says it's not. It's like we can't rely on signs unless he says it's valid. So he's got this machine around him where you got people that are gonna believe whatever he says, just because people are more. And I think both Ty and Jamal said it earlier. People are more invested in the personality than they are in the substance behind the personality.
That's crazy. I just want to, since you mentioned Biden's name a couple seconds.
If I'm a felon just coming home from a 20-year sentence because of Joe Biden and that bullshit bill that him and Hillary put forward.
Another thing about how perspectives change over time. Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, I'm ashamed that I voted for the 94 crime bill. You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. In fact, I drafted the bill, as you remember.
I know that.
Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Mass incarceration has put hundreds of thousands behind bars for minor offenses. Joe Biden wrote those laws.
Every major crime bill that's come out of this Congress has had the name Joe Biden on that bill. We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill.
Joe Biden's policies destroyed millions of black lives. Joe Biden may not remember, but we do.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether
I couldn't take it anymore. That's Keyshawn's boy, Joe Biden. Now it's crazy.
Yo,
everybody talking about
D.
Yeah.
Wishes more.
Come on, Keyshawn.
Boy, listen. Joe Biden is not my boy. He was not one of my choices.
Wasn't he down at the family center?
Come on, man. We got company today. We got our cousin Jamal Crawford from Boston. We got company today, y'all.
Let's get this right.
Yeah.
Like you said, the lesser two evils. This is what it is. Joe Biden was not my first pick. And I'm being real. My first pick and the person I donated to his campaign was Cory Booker. I was a Cory Booker fan. You might not be, but I was. Biden was not in my top 5. But the spin that the Democratic Party has put on this man over the past few months, you sat back, is unreal. Because right there, he said, and he never called them predators. He never called black people predators. And he did. But the one thing that he did in his last debate was probably the only thing that people have been asking for him for the past 20 years is to apologize about that 94 crime bill. And he finally did.
What's an apology gonna do?
Huh?
Can I what's an apology gonna do? I'm sorry. I know somebody that if I apologize for slapping in the face, they don't want to hear that. Listen, Keyshawn, listen. A lot of people talk about Joe Biden's 1994 crime bill and stuff like that, but no one talks about the bills that he co-sponsored.
Exactly.
When Bob Dole was the governor, that anti-drug bill.
Rob,
he sponsored.
Rob, you just pulled the Donald Trump. I pulled Jamal Crawford up, and you just took over the mic. That's like you did the other night.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
I know you 6 foot
Hey,
6.
hey, Jamal, stand back and stand by. Go ahead, Jamal. Go ahead.
Joe Biden, my uncle. Stop it.
Cory Booker, the only light-skinned black man in America who has not been mistaken for Al B. Shore. And I don't really want to talk about him too much because I kind of got a personal with Cory Booker because he took my woman.
I'm done. Stop.
He took Shanika? Shanika Shane?
Me and Rosario, we got the thing.
Yo, Darren Moss, get back in the screen, man. Get back in the screen.
I'm done with your ball. This man is crazy.
Right.
He's crazy.
Okay.
But so for real, when we deal with something like Trump and all of his, thing, and then Biden and all of his thing, and we really talking about Lucifer and Satan. Well, let's look at that. Lucifer, right? The son of light, right? Son of the morning, right? Satan, like in the pit and all that. So no, we got to stop even using that analogy because no, there is a difference.
Okay.
There is a difference. All right. So Biden, with all these despicable things that he said, that was 1994. Let's say that Donald Trump had, activated on his political aspirations earlier, and and his ego wasn't so big as it is. So let's say, he didn't just start off at president. He started off as state rep, senator, congressperson, or whatever. Well, his vote at the time would have been, how we're talking about a lynching bill? Oh, there would have been a lynching bill, all right.
Yes, it would have been.
Okay. And it would have been public lynchings are back, baby. Okay. So let me just tell you that if we think that one is bad, I'm just telling you that the other is worse. And Biden, this goes back to my previous statement. None of these people are geniuses. Biden couldn't beat me in a debate. Okay. And I've never looked over a national budget or nothing. I'm just slick with the words, right? Biden is not a rocket scientist, okay? So at the end of the day, that's why back then he was moving on that because people told him that was the right way to move. Now everybody's like, oh, that's not in fashion anymore. You can't wear white after Labor Day. So now he's on some, oh, I got to switch it up. All I'm saying is Donald Trump doesn't have a switch up. Donald Trump is the same guy who took that ad out that called for basically the public lynching in Central Park. Let's put up some gallows for those Central Park Five. And then years later, finding out they're innocent, still won't apologize.
Exactly.
Okay? Now, the only benefit to a goofball like Donald Trump is, and I just was talking about this in some of my revolutionary circles the other day, like how Kim Kardashian got that sister out.
Yep.
Right? Okay. See, because he's enamored by celebrity and all that type of shit. You know what I mean? And, and her gigantic booty probably didn't hurt either. You know what I mean? So she goes in there, she tells him, all of a sudden he's listening. Well, y'all know about Tupac's stepfather, Mutulu, right? Mutulu Shakur, right?
Yeah.
Y'all know about Imam Jamil Al-Amin, right?
Yep.
We really can't do nothing about Mumia because that's a state case. But I think that Donald Trump is goofy enough that the right person could come to him and perhaps sway him on some of these cases that, like, he's goofy enough if the right person goes in there. So I hope that they do. And then the last point, that clip you did started off with Killer Mike. I know Killer Mike. I've known him for a long time. I got a lot of love for him. But I gotta tell you this too. Back to the whole rappers and celebrities can't be leaders.
Yep.
Let me tell you, the first battle is with self. Okay. I have a very hard problem taking advice on some Black Nation, what it's going to take us to move us forward, from a brother who is 300 pounds plus. Okay, and I don't mean that as an insult. I'm dead serious. The first revolution is within self, and because I know him and I know the community in Atlanta and a lot of the same people we know, it really takes minimal effort to get that on deck, to be the real warrior that we want to see. Because what happens is it diminishes your argument.
Right.
You can't be the Black revolutionary and you ain't even won the fight with Popeye. We can't rock with that. Not to say that everybody don't have their flaws. Look. I'm flawed up over here. You understand what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, you at least gotta be, to me, functional. If the revolution was happening 3 blocks away, Killer Mike can't run to it. That's a problem. Okay? So that's what I'm saying.
My bad. I'm trying not to laugh. I'm just.
It's super real,
stage, bro.
But you're right. You're right. Are you really?
And let me say this.
Go ahead.
Because, he's a millionaire and all this. So let me not even do that. I'm gonna also use some people that I know in the game who have mental deficiencies. So in my world of being in the hip hop thing, there's a couple of super duper celebrities, gazillionaires. I'll mention one because I don't think it's a big secret. Baby from Cash Money. Baby is illiterate, bro. Cannot read nor write. Okay. Now, at some point when you're a millionaire, so once again, me and my personal battles with health or whatever, that's one thing. But if you're a millionaire, I mean, bro, you could hire Holly Berry to come to you how to read. Okay. You could hire Billy Blanks to come teach you Taebo.
Yeah.
Okay. So to me, the higher up on the tree you are, it's like the excuses are less and less. You're not dealing with everything that like we dealing with. You got good health insurance. You can go get you some, a nutritionist, a dietitian, this or that, an educator. So that is also kind of an analogy for the masses. because we got to do better at informing ourselves.
Absolutely.
And bigging up our own armor before we want to go out into the world and then be the gurus and the teachers of everybody else. You know, want to talk on big platforms and don't know what the word patriarchy means.
Yeah. I'm going to slide over. We're going to digest that one. Damn, T.I. And I like T.I. Damn. All right, here we go. My girl, my sister, Emma Genesee, phenomenal artist. For folks, if you don't know, slide by her page, check out her artwork, go down, check out the mural if you happen to be in the Springfield area. Also, she has her artwork displayed down in Worcester. Her name is Emma. She has a question for the fellas. This is the last one, is 155. Here we go. I mean, we at the 155 mark. We have 5 minutes left for the 2-hour mark. Here we go. Are there any politicians that you see doing right by Black people? Are there any politicians doing right by Black people? We're a critical group. Who we got that's actually doing the right thing that has been elected for office? Anybody?
In Boston, I can speak to some local people who I think that their heart is in the right place. While I still don't always agree with every policy or whatever that they might get behind or whatever, at least like I don't think that they are, you know, scumbags and, you know, manipulators and that type of thing. So for somebody on the national level that everybody probably knows, like
Ayanna Pressley, yep.
Right.
I was about to say that.
So that's sis. She been sis. You know, from her early days in politics before she was even in elected office. So got super love for her. But once again, even though we may not agree on every certain policy that she rocks with, but I know that her heart is in the right place, and I know her head is in the right place, meaning where some of these people that you're like, man, they just stupid. You know, nobody could call her a dummy. You know what I mean? Nobody could call her a dummy, and nobody could say that she's like, you know, an angler. So, you know, disagreements are normal in adult conversations and politics and all that. That's okay. But I don't think she's on the take, and I don't think she's stupid. So, and she's a great example for young Black women and just, you know, people in general who want to go into a career of politics. I think her story is inspiring and remarkable. Future Black history book person.
Yeah. Absolutely. I honestly, I believe that we do have some politicians that really want to be for the people, and those people are really targets to be muffled by other politicians, and we know that. I mean, you look at what we have in some of our city councilmen that you know their heart's in the right place, but they're young in it, and you might not agree with a lot of them, but sometimes you can work with some. I know, but some you can have a conversation with behind doors and really check them. Some that you can call and have a real conversation.
We do. We have a couple of city councils that are on point. We do.
Yeah, but you know, and I'll take just for example, just because I just had a personal conversation with this one was Adam Gomez.
That's
and I'm gonna be real. Called him. And the conversation I had is like, yo, man, we fam. You know, this ain't even about politics. You need to run your center. I'm all about helping you. It's whatever you need outside of politics, because one, there's some things that me and Adam have had conversations on before that nobody needs to know about. I helped him out. He's helped me out. It had nothing to do with politics. But those are the type of people I look at true character first before I go into politics. Like you said with Ayanna, she's sis. I see Adam, you know, he can be, he's like a brother. He's a little brother to me. So I can see that I can contact him and I can have a real conversation. And in a person in a position of power, I can tell him, yo, I don't like the way you operate. And he'd be like, why? And we can have that conversation. I know he's not going to be like, you know what, F that. This is the way I'm going. So, I mean, but nationally, you know, it gets a little bit thinner that you can go there. But I believe that there are some politicians that really want the best interests of the people. But those are the ones that are far and few between, and they're muffled. You got to kind of find them. It's almost like trying to find a good rapper nowadays.
I think, and I agree with Adam. Adam is my dude. I fly with Adam. Jamal, I don't know if you met Adam Gomez yet. He's city councilor, just became a state rep, the state senator. So
I remember him from before he was elected. He was
David
thing.
Yo, he's good people. So he'll be coming down. He'll be coming down y'all way, man. Yo, open the house to him. He's a good dude. I think Tracy, well, on the local level, I'm gonna shout out Tracy Whitfield.
Yep.
We don't always agree, but Tracy's heart is always in the right place when it comes down to the community.
School committee, we got Naylor, got Latonia, that I can talk to. I know she helps me out with my kids. Always willing to call me with my kids. I can when things are happening, especially during this time through COVID, she's been very attentive to all of the community centers, trying to get us information before so we can be prepared to move forward. So I know people that reach out to us first, that I don't have to reach out to them to say, hey, this is what's coming down the pipeline. I gain respect for people in those positions. I may not agree with them fully on certain things, but I have respect for people that will reach out and say, hey, I need you to be aware of this. And so it keeps me to say, you know what? I think they really are trying to get this thing down packed, and I'm willing to work with them. And so, I mean, I look at it that way, but there's other ones. That's just what I do, because I just know that they're during election time.
And let me just say this about Emma's question regarding are there politicians that we see doing right by Black people. I just know the minute you're in a position where you can actually create change, you can't do it unless you really, I don't care how many people voted for you, you still have to have a platform to stand on.
Yes.
It means that your community, they can't just vote you in. When you walk in that door at City Hall, no matter whether it's in Boston, Worcester, New Haven, Hartford, it doesn't matter. I need to know that as an elected official, when I walk through the door, I know I got everybody coming with me. And everybody's just a phone call away. It's like saying, yo, I'm about to get jumped. Who's riding? Cats need to respond with an urgency. So we got a lot of folks whose heart is in the right place. They want to do the right thing. But man, when you're working downtown with all those folks, no matter what downtown you're working in, you get up in there after a while, you get beat up so bad. I mean, because you're fighting every day. You get beat up so bad, sometimes you don't know who to rock with and who not to. And then some people get so overwhelmed, they shut down.
Exactly.
You know, I look at in that video, they had Bobby Rush. Some of them ex-Panthers, man, few of them became politicians. And a lot of their decisions I question nowadays as elected officials. When you look to see what they're doing. And these are cats who will ride and die for their community, but people get burnt out. And the sad part is, young or old, man, when they get burnt out, we don't have enough people tapping people on the shoulders saying, you know what, kid, it's enough. I think it's your time. You look burnt, bro. Let's give you a hug, nice retirement party, and let's get somebody with some new energy up in there to do the right thing. I think that onus is really on us. I think there's some good people. I think State Rep Bobby Gibson, heart in the right place down in Connecticut. I'm trying to think, man, it's quite a few of them down there. I don't want to leave nobody else. I ain't gonna say no names, but we got some good. My man, Vern Matthews down in Waterbury, and he's a Republican, but he's a good dude who means well. He's done more for the Hill up in my hometown of Waterbury than a lot of cats have done over the years. So
what's her name from Texas?
Oh,
Texas and New York.
Tiffany Harrison. Yep. Then we got my man Tom Shepard, the only elected member of the New York City School Committee. Good dude, man. He does good work. His heart's in the right place. So to answer your question, Emma, there are some. I wish I could name at least 10, but I can't. So
let me just add on.
Add on, brother.
Sons of Revolutionary, since we're going nationally.
Yeah.
Folks need to know the mayor of Newark, Raj Baraka, son of the great Amiri Baraka, who has been doing a lot in Newark around police reform and around the violence. Despite the fact that Newark is a hard city to get things to move in, but you know he's moving and grooving. And then
did he defund the police? Was that Newark? Was that Newark where they defunded the police?
I think so.
No, well, hold on. I believe that might have been a suburb. I don't know what's happened with the defund.
Yes.
I don't know what's happening with the defund, but he's certainly him in Newark under his thing. He certainly has brought the police reform the thing. I gotta check whatever the latest thing is. The other person I just want to mention is son of the great, and I don't even want to say the late, the great and the on time Chokwe Lumumba, Chokwe Lumumba Jr. Is the mayor of Jacksonville, Mississippi.
Wow.
All right. As was his father. His father was a longtime city councilor. had put a bunch of like new reforms in that city for economic development and so on and so forth, and black entrepreneurship. He was voted mayor, and then he passed away not even a year in the office. But then his son then was elected, ran, and then was elected, and is still the mayor down there. So those are at least two people that I know too, like, world renowned to get down.
All right. So I guess we got to come back at some point, man. We got to name at least, I want a list of 25.
Yep.
And I'm sure they're out there. We just, you don't know everybody. We operate in this region. So Emma, good question. Folks, it's wow, we've been on over the 2-hour mark. My brother Jamal Crawford, thank you for joining us today. Hanif, you've been really quiet for the last 20 minutes, man.
Yo, well, you asked me.
We didn't talk about your mama, Hanif. What's wrong?
Well, Emma asked the question of the any politicians that I'm seeing doing right by black people, and I didn't really have any names, so I just kind of stayed quiet while I'm listening to the list.
Kanye West.
That flag you got behind you, I want you to take it down off the wall now.
I can't deal with
it. This dude.
Wow.
Oh, man. All I can say is, if nothing else,
Ben Carson?
Jamal Crawford needs to be back on the show just for moments like this.
Absolutely.
Because, a lot of the times, like the things we talk about, all the things we talk about on this show are serious things. But sometimes, man, like we have to remember, as serious as they are and as heated as they can be, and as emotionally invested as we get in them, man, sometimes we need to break it up and just kind of like be able to have the chance to reset. I would love to say that I know some politicians are doing right by black people. I have one that is I'm reluctantly turning into a politician in training, to get their voice out there because they need to get out there. And when that one is elected, I'll be able to say I personally know one that is doing right by black people.
Thank you. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I want to be able to talk about that, but we're gonna let it go. All I'm gonna say is Jamal be needing y'all help from the bean eventually. We just put it like that. So
let me know.
All right. With that, everybody, real quick, I think Jamal might have touched on it. Was a tie. The so-called on-code brothers are some of the many saying hold the vote. What do you say to them? Closing thoughts. What do you say to them? Hanif, you up on screen, so I'll let you go first.
The ones that are saying hold the vote, my question would be, for what purpose? What's the purpose behind this? Is this something that you've actually thought out, or is this a pseudo-intellectual opportunity for you to say something to sound like you actually know what you're talking about? Everyone has to decide for themselves what to do with their vote. I think the lesson that we've talked about here is that our vote has power and our advocacy after the vote has power. So we need to learn how to do both. I'm personally never going to tell someone to do anything other than vote their conscience and vote what they believe is right. But make sure you do some follow-up after that.
All right. Thank you, brother. Rob Jones.
I would agree to disagree with Hanif. What's a vote if there's no tangibles behind it?
Rob, how about some really had half your face, bro?
I did that on purpose.
I don't blame you.
You black bastard.
Racist.
I would agree to disagree with Hanif. What's the point of a vote if there's no tangibles around it? That's one of the main reasons why the Democrats are scrambling right now and throwing all this propaganda and counter messages and narratives out there, because the black vote isn't just there for them like it's been there for the past 5 or 6 decades. So if no one's willing to offer anything tangible, like every other group and organization that asks for tangible things for their votes, and if they're not willing to do it for us, let them suffer.
All right. Key Dodds, he shine you up. What's up?
Now I'm gonna have to agree with Hanif and agree to disagree with Rob, but agree with everybody. But the thing is, I think that the vote. I did that on purpose. Rob did that bullshit with that. That's why I did it.
I gotta take some Ritalin after that, man. You got me messed
I did
up.
that on purpose because of that bullshit. But biting my uncle, it was done. But no, I think it's contradictive, and one of the worst things that you can do is hold a vote without educating that vote and telling people we got to educate people on what to do with that vote and how to make it work after. It's not just about November 3rd. It's every single day after. So to hold the vote means nothing. That means that we're gonna have lesser than what we want every time we hold the vote, because then we're gonna be out of the picture. We're not even in the room yet. So we got to make sure we get in the room to the table with our vote. And like you said, Rob, the one thing I do agree with, we do have to have tangibles that are at the table that we have to have. And we have to make sure that we hold these politicians accountable to making those things happen. But we can't do that without voting. So that's just where I stand with that. And, you can go kiss your Uncle Donald Trump.
Dr. Crawford.
Yo, did Biden tell you to say that, Keyshawn? I know he's sitting right next to you.
Rosario Dawson did.
I know Trump told you to blurt out that black bastard though.
Yo, come on, Soul Glow. Get it.
All right, man. Yeah, so we touched on it earlier, but really, to go back to the whole celebrity thing and the monolith thing, I don't really care. Whoever's telling you hold your vote or whatever, look, this is the real world, baby. You're in it. So, do whatever you think is best. But what I'm going to say is, if I were you, educate yourself the best. And when we say, on code, brother, like, who's on code? What are you talking about? Is your vote being informed by what? Tariq Nasheed? Dr. Umar? Like another one of these YouTubians? Is it T.I.? Is it Killer Mike? Is it Ice Cube? Like, what is your vote informed by? Who is on code and all this type of stuff? You got to develop your own code for yourself. And I hope that it's based on facts and reality and study and research. Because a lot of this whole like on code thing, for me, the most time that I've heard that is dealing with folks like Tariq Nasheed and those folks, and all of that ilk is clown and clickbait and like nonsense to me. So we need to remove that, figure out where you are, where your ideals are, and at the end of the day, do wherever your heart drives. But do not be led by fools into destruction.
Well, all right. Thank you. All right, y'all. This is On Deck. My name is D. Moss. I want to thank Rob Jones, Jamal Crawford, Keyshawn Dodds, and Neve Nelson for joining us. We had my man Ty Allen from Brooklyn, New York on earlier. And again, your vote is relevant. It's as relevant as you want it to be. My dad used to say a vote is like a dollar bill. You keep the money you spend. It's up to you to choose and determine how you want to spend that money. If you want to save your vote, that's fine. Just have a plan behind it. If you're going to use that vote, that's fine. Just have a plan behind it. We need to make sure that we start putting systems in place. Freak a vote. We need systems in place that will support that vote, and then support the work that we have to do afterwards. For all the folks who are saying don't vote, look at their past and find out if they've ever voted. Find out if they've ever been politically involved. You have a lot of folks who sit around the barbershop who talk about elections and politicians and the political process as if they've ever been involved in any type of process. You can't be a Facebook warrior. You can't be a barbershop beauty salon superstar. At some point, the feet got to hit the ground. You got to walk through your neighborhoods, talk to the people who you care about or who care about you. Put plans in place. Be strategic. Put yourself in a position to be voted for if you don't like the options. We all have that option. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On Deck. Yo, it's all about being black in America. We don't talk about nothing else. If you ain't black, no disrespect. Sometimes we just have to sit back, kick back, and talk about us. This is On Deck. Peace, everybody. Boom.
Gods walked in.